Welcome, everybody, to this week's edition of Valpo Football Weekly, brought to you by our friends at Lakeshore Bone and Joint Institute. Brandon Vickery with you. Glad to be joined by the head coach of the Valpo football program, Landon Fox, as we get you ready for this week's game against Morehead State. And we look back at this past Saturday's game at Drake. I want to start with the final minute of the first half, which seemed like a big swing in the game. Both teams had strip sacks in that final minute. Ultimately, Drake throws a long pass downfield, ball's battled for, and they end up with a field goal going into halftime. But your thoughts on your perspective on all that transpired right at the end of that first half?
Yeah, we have to have the ability where we get a turnover and, create an opportunity for our offense. And the reality is, we're 10, 10, 15 yards out of field goal range. And so, from an offensive perspective, we got to manufacture those 10 to 15 yards to give ourselves an opportunity to at least walk away with an opportunity to get a field goal at the end of half. And, I thought we could, do a better job in terms of, putting our guys in position to execute that piece of it, because the reality is a touchdown at that point may be tough, but you got to get yourself in field goal range. And, we get into a situation where we're drop back and create a fumble, and then it gives up and really gives 3 points back to them at the end of the half.
I want to talk about Jeffrey Jackson, because you're in a situation where you're down, your backup quarterback comes in the game and he throws 2 fourth-quarter touchdown passes. Tell me about him coming back for this extra year as a sixth-year player, at his third school, to have that veteran who was willing to come back and be a part of your program, knowing that he'd be the backup quarterback going into the season, and your thoughts on his ability to come in the game on Saturday.
Yeah, I would say the first thing is he doesn't approach it like he's a backup. Like if you said you're a backup, he'd say no, I'm not. His approach is that he's going out there like he's the starter, which obviously allows him to have success. He's very bright in terms of not only in the classroom but within the scheme, the offensive scheme as well. So creates opportunities for him. And then the thing that Jeffrey provides you, I believe I said this after the game, Mikey Apple is a decent runner, and people don't give him enough credit, especially when he gets going straight ahead. Now, where Jeffrey is, he has a little bit more fleet of foot. He's a little quicker, which puts a little bit of pressure on people in terms of their pass rush, which you saw on Saturday.
Oh, the positive part was seeing him have a chance to come in the game, but the negative part was obviously what happened that led to that, with Michael Apple Jr. leaving the game with an injury. What can you tell us about his status?
Yeah, the first thing is we got to eliminate hits on Mikey, and that starts with the offensive line. They have to do a better job of protecting, and then Mikey has to do a better job in terms of when things aren't there. Either you scramble, you throw it away, or we don't want him to take unwanted hits. And so Mikey will be a wait and see in terms of where he's at the end of the week. But right now, we're still still trying to figure out exactly what it is.
Let's talk about the defense. So you've continued to make it tough for teams to move the ball against you. Just 46 rushing yards allowed in the game on Saturday. As you kind of look back at the film, what do you like about the way you executed defensively?
Yeah, I told the guys after the game, when we can be in the right spots and they're executing the game plan, we have an opportunity to be, pretty good. And that's the key to our success. Be in the right position, and when the play calls your name, then you have to have the opportunity to make it. And the one thing I would say that we need to continue to put an emphasis on is being in the right spots, but then creating some of those opportunities, meaning some takeaways and giving our offense some short fields. That's where I'd say we're just right now. That's where we have to be better, because our turnover margin, is not where it needs to be if you're going to win football games.
It's been hard to pick one player on the defense to ask you about, because it's been such a team effort, but I do want to ask you about Sam Hafner. How have you seen him develop over the course of his career, from when he came into your program to where he's at now, and the type of impact he's making on games like he did on Saturday?
Yeah, Sam's been awesome to watch. His growth. He's a young man who's probably, he's excelled, in all his life in terms of good student, good football player. A lot of things have gone right for Sam. And when he gets here, I think his eyes opened up a little bit, like, wow, there's other really good football players. That's going to take me a while to learn this thing, to figure it out. And it was hard for him, I think, a little bit just adjusting to say, hey, there's people that are equal to, what I do and perform in the classroom, perform on the football field. And So now I have to go above and beyond or be really good in terms of on a consistent basis. And to see him do that, where he struggled a little bit at first, like, man, this is hard, to now embracing it that hard, to me, it is really fun to watch. And now he continues to excel in the football field and in the classroom.
Shifting gears to the offensive side of the ball, what do you have to do to be able to move the ball and put points on the board more consistently going forward?
You hit it. You hit it right there. Consistent, right? There's times where we're moving it a little bit, and then we're stalling out, and so the consistency piece is a key. And it's making sure, as coaches, first and foremost, that we're putting the guys in the proper position on a consistent basis, so they know exactly what they're seeing, and so it allows them to do their job. And so it starts with us, but then when we're out there too, when you do have a consistency, and there are things that are, I don't want to say easy in football, but there's some things that are easier than others. Sometimes when you ask them to do stuff, you have to be really good at those, because the easy ones you have to be good at. The things that are hard, there's going to be some times when you don't have, you may have a bad play, but on the offensive side of the ball, we have to become more consistent.
Face a Morehead State team that's coming off an impressive victory over Dayton. What challenges will the Eagles present on Saturday?
Yeah, typical Morehead State team in terms of very athletic, in all three phases. That's offense, defense, and special teams. They created a unique style in terms of their offense. They're going to be up tempo, fast. Defensively, they've done a really nice job, and you can see that just in the last two games. 16 points to Drake, 7 points to Dayton. So on that side of football, they're running around, and I thought they've been very physical and tackling well. And then obviously their special teams, like I said, with those athletes out there, they're doing a nice job in the kicking game as well. So from an athletic standpoint, that I think that's the key. And so when you have that, that's even going to emphasize more about us, being in the right spots and executing more so than it is them. Because if you put yourself out of position, those athletes are going to make you pay.
There is the head coach of the Valpo football program, Landon Fox. There's a lot going on surrounding the game on Saturday, so we hope to see you out at Brown Field, valpoathletics.com/tickets. Game kicks off at 1:00 against Morehead State on Saturday. And we'll talk to you again next week on Valpo Football Weekly, presented by Lakeshore Bone and Joint Institute.